Chapter 11. Epilogue. Not all locomotives left their respective depots under their own steam to Salisbury Motor Power Depot or other storage places before being hauled to the scrapyard in South Wales. In later weeks, diesel locomotives were used to haul away dead steam locomotives that had been left at depots, their coupling rods having been removed. Some were all coupled together and looked in a very undignified state. Here are just some of the locomotives that were recorded on film at various locations. At Weymouth Motor Power Depot, a line of standard class steam locomotives await removal, and in the foreground sits 4MT 80134. In a really sorrowful state, an unidentified original Battle of Britain class, minus her tender, the squadron nameplate and plaque of distinction still attached to her side panels. Coupling rods from these once majestic locomotives are strewn around the ground. The next photograph showed Type 3 Crompton 6555 passing Wimbledon, hauling 3 bullied rebuilt Pacifics to their fate on Sunday the 13th of August 1967. West Country Class 34008 Padstow is leading, West Country Class 34034 Honiton is in the middle, and at the rear next to the brake van is Merchant Navy Class 35007 Aberdeen Commonwealth. At 9 Elms MPD, D6565 is preparing to haul away 3 BR Standard class locomotives to a similar fate. From the other end of the line at Weymouth, 2 rebuilt bullied Pacifics and a BR Standard class locomotive are seen being hauled away by Hymec Type 3 locomotive D7013, their numbers being West Country Class 34093 Saunton and 34095 Brentor and BR Standard Class 5MT 73092. Whilst researching different websites for photographs to illustrate my book, I came across several images which brought memories flooding back. Locomotives that I'd worked on were stored at various depots waiting to go to the scrapyards. Some had already met their fate. Here are just a fraction of those locomotives that are sadly no longer with us. But some, after years of hard work, have been painstakingly restored to their former glory. This photograph shows V's Schools Class 30903 Charterhouse, awaiting her fate at Eastleigh in 1964. I have very happy memories of working on this locomotive as a 16-year-old fireman, with driver Charlie Lyford, smoking a Craven A cigarette, working the 11:03 AM vans from Guildford to Woking. This photograph shows 700 Class 30698 hauling V's Schools Class 30906 Sherborne from Red Hill to Ashford on Saturday the 5th of May 1962. A sad fate for both locomotives at Ashford, as 30698 was also scrapped and none of the other 700 class locomotives were kept for preservation. The next two photographs show B4 Class 30089 Little Jim, the first of several shed locomotives that I worked on at Guildford MPD, stored at Eastleigh awaiting the cutter's torch. A sad end to her life after 70 years, already stripped of most of her boiler at Eastleigh on Tuesday the 12th of May 1964. A line of locomotives stand patiently at Salisbury Yard awaiting their turn to meet their fate, and not so lucky in this row of locomotives in Salisbury Yard, BR Standard Class 5MT 73037 and 73155 plus USA Class 30067 and 30069. It's the end of the line for BR Standard Class 4MT 80146 at Salisbury as someone removes her smokebox number plate. But what became of Guildford Motor Power Depot? This aerial photograph shows the shed just after closure. The Farnham Road and bridge is situated to the right of the photograph. This drawing shows the shed's layout. The staff canteen, cycle shed and steps down to the running foreman's office is shown in the top right hand corner of the diagram. The shed's demolition. The asbestos roof and running rails from the inside of both sheds have been removed and only the girders remain. The prefabricated turning gang and cleaner's cabin where I first started work has also been partially demolished. This photograph shows the ambulance room and the running foreman's office that has also been partially stripped of its roof. The coal stage has been stripped of its asbestos side panels and roof, and the back road pit has been partially filled with the remains. The coalman's hut still stands, but only just. After the shed was demolished, the area was used for a ground level car park until plans were drawn up to expand the car parking area to multi-storey. The following two photographs were taken by myself when I travelled in a hot air balloon with my father from Warbleston to Chilworth for his 70th birthday in July 1988. Steam preservation. Class 7P 6F number 70,000 Britannia had already been chosen to be preserved in the National Collection, and some 27 years later can be seen working on Southern Metals with the Mid-Hants Daylight Special storming Fox Hills Bank on Sunday the 8th of May 1994. The driver on this occasion was driver Pat Kinsella and his fireman Dennis Osman. Class 8P number 71,000 Duke of Gloucester can be seen here at Barry as a complete wreck, but was painstakingly restored above and beyond her former glory. U-Class 31638 looks a sorrowful state at Barry Docks in the early 1970s, but here is shown in splendid fettle, working the Nine Elms engineman on the Bluebell Railway in 2009. N-Class 31874 rusts away at Barry Docks on the 6th of April 1969, but was restored to her original splendour and is shown working here at the Mid-Hants Railway in 1982. This photo shows N-Class 31806 on the scrap line at Barry, but was sold to the Mid-Hants Railway and carefully restored and is seen working away from Ropley at the Mid-Hants Autumn Gala in 2012. In early 2017, two of my old steam colleagues, Bill Moore and Pat Kinsella, thought it would be a good idea for a few of us to meet up at the Loco to mark the 50th anniversary of the closing of the depot and then go for a drink afterwards. Instead, Bill, Pat and I put our heads together and came up with an idea to have a full-blown plaque unveiling ceremony. To achieve this, Guildford Borough Council would have to be involved as planning permission was required to erect a plaque. This was finally achieved with the help of Guildford Borough Councillor Bob McShee. The three of us then decided on the plaque's design and managed to find the company that had made other plaques situated at historic landmarks in Guildford. We then had to decide which photographs were to be etched onto the plaque, and 3 photographs were chosen. 2 that had been taken by Richard Greenwood whilst he was studying law at Guildford in 1961, and 1 by the late Dave Salmon, which shows USA Class 30072, the final locomotive that left the depot that day. To mark the occasion in beautifully sunny weather, exactly 50 years to the day, the plaque was unveiled by Richard Greenwood MBE, who had saved USA Class 30072 from being scrapped, to continue a future working on the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway. Good morning everyone, and thanks for coming along to this 50th anniversary of the closure of Guildford Motive Power Depot and the end of steam on the southern region. It doesn't seem that long ago when Pat Kinsella and I departed from here aboard our respective locomotives BR Standards 73118 and 73155 to go light engines to Salisbury. Let's also not forget the other drivers and firemen that left here that day, the late Dave Elston, the late Bill Brain, the late Dave Bunce and the late Charlie Hampshire, who have all transferred to that great engine shed in the sky. I must also thank the late Dave Salmon and Richard Greenwood MPD for providing the photographs that are etched on this plaque. Also, I must thank the following that generously made donations towards the cost of the plaque, because without them it wouldn't have been possible. These, along with myself, were Don Ottinen, who's the oldest hand here today, Pat Kinsella, Bill Moore, Ben Darnton of Ben's Collectors Records, Guildford historian David Rose, Mick Stone, Charlotte, Emma and Anne Hampshire in memory of Charlie Hampshire, Barry Brockman in memory of his father Arthur Brockman, Terry Kerslake, Justin White, Malcolm McMcCabe, Alan Newman, Dave Jackson in memory of John Butt, who was a shedmaster here when I graduated to become a fireman in 1962, John McIver, Ian Simpson, Jeff Ball, the Guildford Rotary Club, Alan Nichols, Dave Bryce, Peter Blanthorne, an anonymous Nine Elms driver, Lou Aldridge, George Mickey, Neville Hodges, Jim Lester, Alan Cobbett, an anonymous OSA member, David Brown, Ian Barnett, Mick Rosewell and John Rosewell, Donald Baldwin, David Newbury, Alan Mansbridge, Brian Sessions, Tim Crowley, traction inspector from my firing days, Ray Bartlett, Eddie Wells, Pat Evans, Tom Andrews, Bill Tickner, Derek Hayter, John Prof Nicholson from the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway, Bernie Nibbs, Bob Hunt, and finally Barry Slater, ex-55G Huddersfield driver and member of the Bahamas Locomotive Society. We were also given money by persons completely unconnected with the railway industry who genuinely believe that this place is still part of Guildford's heritage. Over £1,000 was raised, and the additional money left over was donated equally to the Woking Homes and the Phyllis Tuckwell Hospice in Farnham. Now a little bit about our invited guest Richard Greenwood. Rochdale born and bred, and with railways in his blood, Richard attended the Law College at Guildford during 1961-62 whilst I was working here as an engine cleaner and young fireman. With a keen photographer's eye, he captured hundreds of superb images of locomotives, and I'm therefore indebted to Richard for his kindness in allowing me to use a number of them in various books that I've self-published. During the 1960s, Richard led local opposition to the Beeching Axe when, almost at a stroke, Britain lost thousands of miles of its railways. Richard has always been a member of the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway since 1964, 2 years after the 5-mile branch line was closed by the British Railways as being uneconomic. Thanks to a lot of hard work by Richard and other volunteers, the line was reopened in 1968, and it's been run by volunteers from the Preservation Society ever since. Richard was a director of the railway for more than 30 years and chairman for more than half that time. It also gave Richard a glorious opportunity to do what he liked best, driving USA Class 30072, which was the very last locomotive to leave here 50 years ago, along the narrow Worth Valley Railway from Keighley to Oxenhope and back. Not forgetting his present locomotive, West Country Class 34092, City of Wells. For his service to steam railway preservation, Richard was recognised in the Queen's New Year's Honours List in the year 2000, being awarded an MBE. I'd like to now ask Richard to step forward to unveil the plaque.
I've sucked some pints in there. Yeah.
You videoing, Geoff?
I am, yeah.
Oh, he's video. Oh,
Get this one.
So no swear words.
Get this on the two Mad Hatters.
Oh, look at that.
Two Mad Hatters. Say cheese.
Yes. And over the top.
you got a paper?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Put that in the wanted
Young
file.
Mr. Gray over in the corner there.
Police 5. Remember Police 5?
The oldest driver present was Don Ottington, 93 years of age, who was able to make this occasion and was joined with his wife and children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Finally, here are some before and after photographs of Guildford's once proud motive power depot. The first looking north towards the coal stage, showing the placemeter that links the station platforms in Guildford Park Road, and what it's like now. This set is the view looking south, showing N-Class 31411 heading towards the shed in 1966. This is now the vehicular entrance to the multi-storey car park that is now situated on the site. I wonder what this will look like in another 50 years' time. Finally, to end this series of YouTube chapters, the locomotive that set me on the path towards a railway career, N15 King Arthur Class 30777 Sir Lamuel, shown stored for preservation at Stuart's Lane Shed in 1969. And then passing through Basingstoke, heading the Cathedrals Express from Waterloo to Salisbury on the 11th of December 2007. I personally took this photograph and it was used on the front cover of the first edition of The Ramblings of a Railwayman.